Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara and I make career, travel, and lifestyle content here on YouTube. So if any of that interests you, you already know what I'm about to say. Pause this video right now. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and you turn on the bell so that you're notified anytime a new video goes live. In today's video, we're going to talk about why the definition of a stable job is changing, the benefits, why I think it's a good thing, and I'm going to give a few tips on what you can do to take advantage of the changing environment. So when I was growing up, we were living in a very check the box society, right? Like you go to school, you do good in school, you get involved in some extracurricular activities, you should get a few honors and awards, and you should do all of those things so then you can get into a really good college. And then in college, it's not enough just to be a good student and make good grades. You also need to be involved on campus. You need to be looking for internships and all of those things so that you can get a good job. And then you get this good job at this company and you're there for 30 plus years. You work your way up. Along the way, you get married, you have a few kids, you buy a house, and you retire from the same company that you've been at for 30 plus years, and then you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. That is exactly what I grew up learning and what I grew up doing for a very long time. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you will know that those same rules do not apply today. And so it's so imperative that we really take the time to unlearn all of the rules and the behaviors and the mindsets and the habits that we were raised with, so that way we can play in today's working environment. All that to say that traditional employment has been undergoing significant changes, especially over the last few years. Historically, as I alluded to, stable employment often meant long-term job security with a single employer accompanied with regular, stable hours, good benefits, and typically a linear progression. However, several factors have contributed to the shifting landscape, and I thought I would share just a few. All right, so starting off, you have the introduction of non-traditional work arrangements. Now, what do I mean by non-traditional working arrangements? You've got your freelancers, your contractors, your project-based work. So this gig economy where you have more flexibility to decide kind of where you're working, when you're working, and what you're working on. We also saw a rise in the number of remote positions, and while it does feel like we're going a little backwards in that perspective, you see a lot of companies are starting to bring people back into the office on less of a 100% remote schedule and more kind of hybrid, somewhere in the middle between being in the office 5 days a week to being 100% remote. But nonetheless, we do see more companies offering this flexibility that comes with remote working at least some of the time. We are also seeing the rise in the number of people who are doing side hustles or pursuing entrepreneurship. I actually was reading an article that said 70% of Gen Zers have side hustles and about 50% of millennials have side hustles. Now, there are several reasons for this, right? Like capitalism, the cost of living has increased significantly. And so a lot of people are looking for other means to increase their income. So there's tons of reasons for this, but nonetheless, we are seeing that this is happening. Something else that we're seeing more and more of is what we call job hopping, right? So people are not staying at one company for their entire career. They are starting to hop around and get experience in different industries, different functions, different job roles, really just trying to continuously develop and apply new skills. And lastly, the focus on employee well-being and work-life balance is definitely becoming more pronounced. We are seeing more and more individuals really prioritize work-life balance and just overall job satisfaction over just mere stability. So as a result of all of those things I just shared, we are actively seeing the definition of stable employment evolve to a more nuanced understanding that incorporates things like adaptability, continuous learning, and personal fulfillment. Now, I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing that we are seeing the shift in what it means to have a stable job. And I say that because I think a lot of us are recognizing that our parents were not necessarily like fulfilled. My parents really did what they had to do because that's what they were told to do, right? They didn't know any better, right? Like they were told you do this and then you do that and then you do this. And so naturally they shared with us what worked for them and they wanted us to be better than them, right? And so I think the reason why a lot of people really are struggling with the shift in what's happening in the working environment is because a lot of people just don't know what they enjoy doing. They have spent their entire life being told. Again, I can relate to that because I just shared at the beginning of the video that I was raised in this environment or with this methodology that like you do this and then you do this and then you do this. And so for a while, for the first few years of my career, that's exactly what I did. I did all of the things that everyone else told me to. I checked the box. A lot of things I was doing was not because I really wanted to. It was because I felt like I had to, because that was like the next thing in line to tick off. And so when I found myself years later kind of in a position where, sure, like I think I enjoyed it, but I wasn't really fulfilled. It wasn't until I took a step back and realized that I was living my life for other people. I was following, you know, this predetermined path that I didn't even want to be on. And so I think, like I said, I think it's a good thing that we are seeing this stable job doesn't exist, because it takes the ownership away from companies and it brings it back to where it should rest, which is with professionals, with you as an individual. That's why I love the shift that we're seeing, is because you have more ownership and more say over your life and over your career, which is a big part of our lives. And so I think it's a great thing to take advantage of this shift that we're seeing. And there are tons of ways to do that. For example, continuous learning. Don't stop learning. As we see, industries are literally evolving daily, weekly, monthly. And so a skill that you learned 5, 6, 7 years ago may or may not still be relevant today. And so it's really important to understand what has changed in your respective industries, what is changing, and then figure out what you can do to stay on top of that and to stay competitive in your respective industry. Really focus on building your personal brand and make it separate from your company. So when I was earlier in my career, I felt like my identity and my brand was so enmeshed with my job and my company and what I did for a living. And it wasn't until I separated my sense of value and self-worth from my job and from my job title and from my work that I really started to be able to build a brand that felt more authentic and in line with the vibes that I wanted to put out in the world and the opportunities that I wanted to attract. So this is such a great opportunity and environment to really get clear on what your brand is. Who are you? What do you want to be known for? And really start figuring out how you can put yourself in spaces to make that a reality. This is also the time to really focus on networking. Networking. It is always going to be important when you talk about growing in your life. I will always say this, but we are not meant to do life alone. And that is in any aspect. In your faith life, in your professional life, in your personal life, you are not meant to go through life alone. There are so many resources and tools and communities out here to provide support for you depending on where you are. So it's really important to build up your network and also maintain it. It's not enough just to have the connections, but they need to know you as well and know what you do and know what you want, So that way, when they're in different environments and different rooms, they're able to advocate on your behalf. So definitely, like, this is a time to focus on your network and ensuring that your network is reflective of the kind of person that you want to be. You are who you hang around. And so if your network and the people that you're surrounding yourself with are not in line with the vision that you have for yourself, it's time to switch some things up, okay? And lastly, as I alluded to, this is the time to really tap into your entrepreneurial mindset. One of my favorite values at my current company is we own it, meaning we are all owners. No one else can do this thing for you. I think I see so many people blaming this person and that thing in this situation for the reason why they're not able to do XYZ. And at the end of the day, you own it. It is your responsibility to get yourself to where you need to be. And again, that's not to say that you have to do it by yourself, but you have to know when to ask for help and who to ask for help. But you have to first make the choice yourself that you are going to take ownership of your life and your career. And then after that, everything else kind of falls into place. Okay. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video here. I thought it was just really important to provide that context because yes, you're not crazy. The job market, this job dynamic that we're seeing right now is like something that we have never seen before. And it's because we are entering into the future of work. We are entering into this new way of working that we were not prepared for. We were not raised learning how to navigate this new normal. And that's okay, right? Like, it's okay for things to change. I think one skill that is absolutely going to be critical as we move into this future of work because of this changing definition of a stable job is adaptability. Things are going to continue to change at a rapid pace, and it's really important that you develop adaptability as a skill, that you develop resilience as a skill, that you develop autonomy and the ability to take ownership over your career and your life. With that, I'm going to pass the ball to you. What are you doing to take advantage of this changing job market? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it so that I can encourage you, hold you accountable. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched thus far in the video, I love you and I appreciate you for being a part of my community, and I will see you all in my next video.